Welcome to the 19th episode of the 42284 podcast, coming to you from Sunfish, Kentucky, downtown. We are in the middle of a hurricane right now. It is Friday, September 27th, Hurricane Helene, not to be confused with Helen, as some people have called it all day today. Coming through right now, we've had, Tom, you said, what, 2.5 inches of rain, something like that? So we're here with Kyle and Brandon, and we've got a guest here with us today who is kind of a staple of the Sunfish community. He's probably one of the few people in the area that's really not kin to anybody in Sunfish, but he has been here so long.
You know Tony?
Huh?
You know Tony?
Yeah.
I'm kin to him.
Well, I know, but you're not a Durbin or a Duval or a Logston or a Lashley or a French or a White.
Well, hey, Tom's first generation here.
He is. Hey, that's a good point. He's a
generation.
first generation
Sunfishian.
Sunfishian. But you have lived in Sunfish or in the outskirts of Sunfish, which was right over on 185, for, what, 40 years now?
A little over 40 in 1983.
83. You've been here as long as I can remember.
April 7th, 83. I remember that. That was my mom's birthday.
And you moved down here.
Moved, yeah. So we've lived in Kentucky, Sherry and I, longer than we've lived in Ohio.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, where were you born at?
Allen County, Ohio.
Allen County, Ohio. Is that
A little bit west of Lima. Lima's halfway between Dayton and Toledo.
right? I knew you had been in the Lima area. We went up there one time for something, and I remember talking to you, and you said, well, that's where I'm from. And I don't remember what I was up there for, but we were up there, and they were, it was kind of springtime of the year, and it was still freezing, and they were watering. I can't remember if they grew blackberries or blueberries. They grow
those in Washington State.
Well, they were growing some type of berry up there.
They do, really.
Well, I know,
Lots of them.
but they were watering that, and it just had ice hanging off of it. And I asked the guy, I said, why are y'all watering that if it's freezing? He said the ice won't burn the leaves, but if they get frost on them, the frost will, and the ice protects the leaves from the frost. I didn't know that.
I think they're famous for their beans up there.
Beans? Is that what it is? These weren't beans. They were berries.
Lima beans.
Lima beans? Yeah, probably so.
I don't even remember any blackberries.
So did you graduate? Did you go to school there? Grew up there?
Oh, yeah.
Same area?
Yeah. Same school district all my life. And Sherry was about 20 miles to the south, and she went to school in her same school district.
How did you meet Sherry?
It was a party.
This is going to be
met
good.
her.
You had my attention.
I met her that night, and she remembered meeting me a couple nights later.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She caught amnesia. No, she hit her head on something.
So how long did you all date before you?
Oh, probably a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Something like that.
You all been married, what, a little over 50 years now?
A little bit over 50 years.
I remember.
Had a big deal in Bowling Green about
Yeah.
a year ago. So.
Yeah, I remember them posting pictures of you all at your wedding.
Oh, well, you were there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
At their wedding?
Yeah. I can't remember. I was trying to remember.
50th anniversary party.
I was trying to remember if we came down or if something happened that we could. I know we were invited, and I want to say we drove down, but for some reason I thought maybe something come up that we didn't get to come. I think maybe
at the train depot. I thought I saw you there.
I can't remember. I can't remember.
I might have thought I saw a lot of people there.
Well, I mean that's yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Y'all have got 4 kids.
Yep.
Michelle McMillan, who is a photographer here locally.
Yeah.
Amy Wilgruber.
You got it. That's a hard one.
That is, yeah. And she lives in Bowling Green, correct?
Bowling Green. She got a studio, does hair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Tony Pohlman, which Tony's just a few days younger than I am. His birthday's the September 14th, maybe?
I think 14th or 15th.
Yeah, mine's the 6th.
Amy's one and Tony's the other. And I think Tony's the 14th.
And then Lisa.
When's your birthday?
September 6th.
Well, yeah.
Of 80, and he was just, I always remember that. He's
close,
a few days younger, yep.
Yeah.
And we ran around a lot together, and Kyle and
Oh,
Brandon,
yeah, I grew
all
up
of
with
us.
Tony.
Yeah, we all grew up with Tony.
Yeah.
He was one of the, even though he lived the next road over, he was over here running around a lot, or we were over there, or had a lot of good times back at the cabin. And Kyle told the other night about riding a tractor tire down the hill.
I heard that, and I wondered if it was back there.
That's
at
where
that
it was.
cabin.
That was your all's cabin back
If they wouldn't have knocked you over, you'd have drowned.
there. Tom, I can drown in a mud puddle.
He had Billy Sanders in there with him. He'd have been at least on top of Billy, right?
Really.
We were balanced. I mean, we were heading.
going.
Oh yeah,
Just going around.
just going.
around.
Yeah, as a rear tractor tire.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember going over in the one winter, and riding 4-wheelers on the watershed lake.
Oh, yeah.
Do you
I
remember
remember
that?
that. Remember, we had popcorn
Tom
later.
get out there. Tom rode out there first and took a hammer and a screwdriver and checked how thick the ice was, and then we all got out there.
It's about 4 or 5 inches. You can go. You know.
Yeah. It doesn't get that cold like that anymore.
Well,
I remember when I was a kid, the
When
ice
we
getting
first
thick.
built the lagoons up here,
Yeah.
we that one lagoon got about 6 inches of water in it, and then it turned cold and it froze. And Randy and Charlie's driving. I said, "Well, go on out there." "Oh no, we can't do that." Well, I pulled on the steering wheel. We went down the bank, and we was on the ice. I think we got stuck, but we got out. I might have not got stuck, but probably did. You know how it goes.
I saw a guy go through a little ice one day on a pond on a 4-wheeler. Not pointing any fingers here, but Brandon.
Yes.
New Year's
Yeah.
Day, best I
Christmas
remember.
Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, cold, Carhartt insulated bibs, Carhartt coat. And by the time they got me drugged back to the truck, because my 4-wheeler was out of commission, you could have stood my bibs up and they'd have stood there on their own.
It was cold.
Which pond was it?
Up on Big Reedy, Huff Ridge.
Yeah, we were up there, and it doesn't hold a lot of water, but like you said, Tom, it had water in the bottom of it. And we got down in it, and we were kind of spinning around, riding through the edge of it. I don't know what possessed him to go through the middle of it.
Well, I ran up on a tire is what got me.
There was a tire
there
in
was
the
a
water?
car tire out there, and I ran up on it, and the front end came up, and dummy me held onto the handlebars and just fell over with a 4-wheeler trying to hold it up instead of just turning the 4-wheeler loose, you know.
Yeah, he never could figure that, just turning the 4-wheeler
I
loose
always
out.
thought that parts cost money, so I was going to try to hold on to 4-wheeler. Now, Jeremy, I have seen him step off one and let it go over the hill, and it didn't matter.
He told me, he said, "I think it was still going up the hill when you stepped off of it." He said, "I think you would have made it." I said, "Oh, well, I knew it wasn't going to make it there."
I'm not going to get in on that conversation. I broke a jaw. I'm the dumbest one out of
Think of
both
the weight
you.
loss, though. Think of the weight loss.
Oh
of
yeah,
broken
40
jaw.
pounds in 5 weeks.
Oh, you brought that up. You've got to tell about going to the doctor and them not unwiring it and you unwiring it yourself.
I don't want to relive it. It
Come
was
on.
awful.
You've got to tell
Did
that
you
one.
unwire your jaw yourself?
Himself.
Yeah, I was starving to death. I
Because
mean,
you
I'm,
went to the doctor and they wouldn't unwire it?
well, I'm what some people might call a little girthy,
Yeah.
Full figured.
full-figured kind of guy.
I mean, I'm
I'm
not
with you.
criticizing you from doing it. I just can't believe you did do it.
well,
I probably would try that if I was hungry.
I broke my jaw. Me and another fellow, we was on the 4-wheeler coming up out of the creek bed. I'd put a little bit of a lift kit on it. It had some Vampire tires on it. It was a 600 Grizzly, a little top heavy anyway. And so when we were coming up out of it, it got light in the front end. I lean up over the handlebars, and it starts to, because it's a little light in the front end. Well, he rolls off, and I don't, and I ride her all the way down and break my jaw. So we go down there, and they wired up emergency surgery and all that night, and talking to the doctor, and he says, "You'll have to have that on here for 6 to 8 weeks." And I said, "Well, Doc," I said, "you just don't really understand how I heal." It's kind of a running joke that I feel like I heal fast. I don't know if that's really a thing. Or I
think it is.
I just tell people
think it
that.
is, yeah.
Yeah. And I said, "I'll be out of them in 3 weeks." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, whatever. We'll schedule you for a visit in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it was. I can't even remember now. 3 weeks, I think, is what it was. So I come home, and all you can get is soup broth, or I tried some blended up food. I don't know if anybody's ever tried that or not.
Milkshakes.
Oh, yeah, milkshakes was good.
Oh,
yeah, I drank milkshakes. They were great, but like Mom took some spaghetti and meatballs and pureed it, and it tasted just like spaghetti and meatballs, but the texture was...
Yeah, texture's what gets me.
So I
before
couldn't do
taste
that
anything.
anymore. So V8 splashes was a thing then. I don't know if you remember those. I was living on V8 splashes and milkshakes. And so Mom took me back down there for my 3-week visit, and he's like, "Everything's looking pretty good. We're going to give you 1 more week." And I said, "So you're going to take these off next week?" And he said, "Well, we're going to give you 1 more week." So we go back down there. one more week. And I think, oh, I figured out what this guy's doing. He's one more weeking me to death, you know.
Yeah.
And so Mom asks him, she says, he's talking about taking these off. You know, what would happen if he done that? And the orthodontist, don't worry, ma'am. He won't take those off. Challenge accepted. So how they wire them together, they didn't wire them like you see in old movies and stuff like that. They wired them to my teeth, a top brace and a bottom brace, and they put rubber bands on there and hooked them together.
So you just cut the rubber bands.
Cut the rubber bands, but then you got these two metal things there with little bitty old fine wire. You know, if it'll go between your teeth, how fine it is.
Right.
So I took some fingernail clippers and a pair of my fencing pliers. Went in there in the bathroom and I clipped that knot off and take about 3 of them off, and then I'd get weak and have to lay down for a while.
Didn't you say you was putting a cold wash rag on your forehead?
I put a cold wash rag on my face, flop around, you know, and then I go back in there and I take 3 or 4 more.
And did your mom know this was going on?
No, I was living at the trailer at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was living at the trailer.
Okay.
Yeah, but I stayed at Mom's just maybe a week or something like that because I had a little double vision after I first wrecked it and things like that.
Your sister said you were the baby.
Well,
I
Mom was
expect you to
nursing
stay
me back.
there.
Yeah, she was
I
nursing me back
understand.
to health. But after I got them off, I went to the corner market, and I was starving to death. And Debbie Bliss fixed me a shaved bologna sandwich. I don't know if y'all have ever had a shaved bologna sandwich or not.
I've not.
Well,
She said
you've got clothes.
She said that would be easier for me to eat. I got a shaved bologna sandwich, a pack of chips, a Coke, and I think it was like a oatmeal cream pie or something like that. I couldn't eat it all. I'd lost 40 pounds in about 4.5, almost 5 weeks there.
Brandon thinks when I ask for bologna, because I eat bologna once a year, Brandon thinks when I ask for bologna, I ask for it shaved because I want it thin.
Oh,
He wants a thin slice of bologna and a thin slice of cheese and a thin slice of bologna. And I said, why do you do that? And he said, so I can't taste the bologna. It'll give me a headache. And I said, then why are you eating bologna?
bologna gives you a headache?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Scott Avery has the same problem.
Really?
Which I think he kind of got over. But growing up when I was younger, hot dog and bologna, if I would eat either one of them, I had a sick headache that night. And so I had a doctor tell me one time there was a chemical they put in it that some people had a reaction to. I don't know
But if you slice it thin, put enough cheese between it, it fixes that.
You know, sometimes I crave the taste of it, but I get about 2 bites. It's like fish. Ugh. I want to eat fish, but I about 2 bites in, I can't do it.
Really?
Yeah, it's
He
awful.
needs to get hungry. Things taste better.
Does it look like I've ever been hungry and went without eating? So, well, Tom. So when you're up in Ohio, what brought you to Kentucky? What?
Oh,
I mean, obviously it was work, right? But I mean, how do you?
oh yeah. We had a farm. My brother and I had a farm up there, and we had a chance to sell it. We thought it was kind of high, so we sold it. Well, then I needed something to do.
Mm-hmm.
So a molar from the same town, he had a factory there. Then he had a factory in Horse Cave, Kentucky. And I had heard he had some farms down here. So I knew a fellow that managed the factory up there, and I asked him about these farms if he might need somebody down here. And so in 3 weeks or less, I was in Kentucky.
Did you come down here as a farm manager? I mean, is that to start with?
They had a farm at Horse Cave and one in Allen County down Scottsville.
Yeah.
And then these 2 over here. And
What did his factories make?
well, that in Ohio and Horse Cave, they make zinc die-cast products. And then they chrome plate it. And then when they started out in the 50s, when he started, all these chrome on refrigerators and stoves and cars, chrome plated. It was all a lot of it zinc die-cast and chrome plated, copper, nickel, and chrome.
Right.
And then he later got into the foam rubber business, and he got about number 3 in the nation for volume of making foam rubber. And over all the period of working with him, I got to a lot of those different foam plants for different reasons, and use up his junk, and then of course we chopped foam rubber over here. I'd buy foam rubber sometimes from China and Europe, but most of it's from the States, and it was baled up, but it'd be foam with cloth attached, like cushions, mattress covers. You know, it's for making new products.
Right.
and there's the trimmings and such. So we'd chop that up in little pieces and blend different types together, and then it'd end up going back to his foam plants, sometime in Texas or Alabama or Florida.
I always heard they made like carpet padding out of it.
That's right. And it got mixed in with more prime foam.
Right.
And made carpet padding out of it.
I can remember being with Tony as a kid. We stopped over there for some reason, and they had like blankets of foam, and it's where they had made earplugs, and it was the leftover, the mold or the foam from where they had plugged the earplugs out. Like you twist up, and put it in your ear, and some of the plugs were left every now and then.
And then the Nerf footballs,
Yeah.
and different. You'd get some of that odd stuff, not a lot. Most of it was cloth trimmings from the automotive and furniture business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
I didn't know exactly what it was, but I know everybody called it the foam factory down there, where the building was.
Right.
What they think? A lot of people thought that we made. I forget what they used to say. They thought, and they know we wasn't making nothing really.
Yeah.
Making a blend to send back to make carpet pad, but
I noticed when I come through to tonight, actually, they had the door cracked a little bit of that old plant, and it looks like they've got big RVs parked in there.
yeah, the guy that bought it, he's from Florida. Cost too much to stay in business down there, so he moved up here. But he get all these big buses. He does special paint jobs on them.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looked like he had some nice
In fact,
stuff
he
in
goes
there.
to church up here with us.
At St. John's?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I've not got the chance to meet him yet.
He lives up around Sadler.
Okay.
Yeah.
You and Sherry are members of St. John's now, I guess?
Oh, yeah.
And have been for several years.
Well, quite a while.
Some of my favorite memories as a kid is being down there at midnight mass and everybody coming in.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You and Charlie Hayes and everybody who didn't normally come to church a lot of time came. At midnight mass, you got to see people and stuff. And so are you still doing maintenance down there?
Well, whatever, if they need some help with something.
Yeah, I think you and I tackled a few projects.
Yeah,
around.
we did something on the church steeple, or
Yeah, I don't remember now.
we took those doors out.
Yeah.
Didn't we? On the old school. And put
Yeah, we took
some
the
of
door.
them.
I've still got some of
in
those
the new
doors if
building.
you got a need for them. Those big old thick doors.
Those thick doors, really.
Yep, I've still
Well,
got
we
two.
used 3 of them, in the new building.
Yeah, I think Paul Bush took and refinished them, maybe, or
That's right. Yeah.
and then they hung them back. So
Yep.
I was in the hall. I guess at Dad's brother Mike's funeral, and noticed they'd epoxied the floors, and
Oh yeah.
looks nice in there.
Pretty nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was a great project.
Yeah, we think we're going to stay. We went ahead and bought a tombstone, so we got it in place.
Oh, right, really?
So we're ready.
Hey, we're glad to have you down there, Tom. You and Sherry both.
Where at?
Anywhere you want to pick down
I
there.
thought you meant out there behind the church.
yeah. Glad to have, it's Sunfish and behind the church. So
Let me tell y'all a funny one on burials. So Dad is buried up here at South, across from the road.
Yep.
There at 1075, where
Yep.
the hog barns was, that black stone.
Kurt's there too, right?
Right by Papa Kurt. Yep. Of course, Dad passed away in 96, so been there a long time. Mom grew up going to Beach Spring down this way, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 miles or something like that. They've got their own cemetery over there. So for years, Mom had always said she wanted to be buried with her family over at Beach Spring, which Dad's tombstone, when she bought it, is a double tombstone,
But it's blank.
but it's blank.
Yeah,
I don't know
I've
if you've ever noticed that. It's
I've noticed,
blank.
I used to
Yeah.
mow that cemetery
Yeah.
when I was in
Yeah.
high school. I always noticed that.
So I remember them talking about it years ago when I was a kid. And you know how it comes up in time. It wasn't nothing like a real serious conversation, but I'm sure in times, people say, well, where do you want to be buried, or where do you want to be buried, or whatever. Mom would always tell Dad she wanted to be at Beach Spring. And he'd always tell her, if you die first, I'm going to put you at South where I'm going to be buried. And she'd say, well, if you die first, I'm going to put you at Beach Spring, which she ended up not. But that was kind of the running joke. And he asked her one day, he said, why do you not want to be up there at South? She said, Gary, I don't know anybody up there. He said, well, it's not like we're going to picnic, get up and meander around, pilfer around and find out who we are. So about two or 3 years ago or something like that, she comes to the house and she is serious. I mean, serious as a heart attack. And
Do you remember your mom listens to this, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, we've talked about it, so
okay.
I think it's okay.
Well, you're the baby. You get away with it.
Yeah, you
The
probably.
baby?
Well, you are
According
the
to Kayla.
baby.
According to Kayla.
Yeah.
She said,
she held her fingers up in quotations when she said the baby.
Okay. I will leave that one alone.
I listened to most all of these, and you talked about pilfering around and all the different Kentucky wordings and such, and I figured out a long time ago after I moved down here that it's a whole lot easier just to talk like you do.
Right.
Because you can understand me better, and I don't have to repeat it. So that's why I guess we start getting the same accent.
Right. Well,
Oh, you sound just like us,
yeah,
Tom.
I want to get back.
Come on. You're gonna have to finish your Maxine story though.
Well, let me finish
Yeah,
this
go
and then
ahead.
we'll move
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
She comes to the house and she's, serious. And she says, Kyle, I just want to come by and talk to you and tell you. She said, after a lot of thought, she said, I want to be buried up there by your dad. I've decided that's where I want to be buried when something happens. I said, phew. I said, that takes a load off my mind. I won't feel near as bad about it. She said, what? I said, I was going to put you there anyway. Well, she got mad then. She said, are you serious? I might want to go back to Big Spring now.
But you have to flip a coin.
Yeah, I thought. I said, you just took a load off my mind.
That's funny. So back to the language thing. One of the podcasts that Brandon and I and Kyle listen to is called the Hayden, Alabama podcast. They're down in Alabama, and that's kind of what gave us the idea to do this. They're doing the same thing down there. They're telling the local stories and interviewing local people like yourself. And Brandon and I have talked about how we've missed out on so many of the stories over the years, and missed out on stuff that nobody remembers, right? I mean, but they have a shirt and a kind of a lingo down there. It's called Country Cursive. And they've got shirts that say Country Cursive, the Hayden, Alabama. And when I heard that, I thought that's exactly what it is. That's a great way to describe it. I work in Indiana every day, and there's very few days that go by that somebody doesn't say something about the way I say something. The way I pronounce something, or the way I speak. And
Dialect.
Dialect, yeah. And I tell them, y'all can make fun of me up here, but if you all will drive 2 hours towards Bowling Green, everybody talks like this down there.
When you go back home, Tom, do people think you talk differently now?
Oh, yeah. And, of course, especially our kids, And they want to hear them talk.
Oh, yeah.
Well, say this and say that.
Yeah.
I've got a good friend, Carl Cena. I don't know if y'all know Carl or not.
Carl Cena?
Yeah.
Cena.
I remember Leslie. I don't know if that's in school, but I don't remember.
Leslie's his daughter.
Okay.
Yeah. He's originally from the Boston area, and he has that real thick Boston accent. You know, your R's, and I'm not going to try to mimic it because I do a horrible job.
Then why don't you try?
Call. C-A-R-L, call.
Yeah.
But he said when he goes home, of course, to us, he still sounds just like he stepped off the shore up there at Boston. But he said when he goes home, his family says that he's got a Southern dialect.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, well, Carl, I'm pretty sure you ain't lost it all.
When we were in Europe, they would say, "Are you from Texas?" I'm like, "No. not close." Our crews from Texas come up and work around. I'm like, they sound different. We sound nothing like we're from Texas. But Europeans think that the lingo, the way I speak is like a Texan. What they have pictured as Texas.
Well, I listen to them boys from Hayden, Alabama, too, and they've got their own.
Oh yeah, Alabama. You get down in the
we would
South,
be called Southern, but I don't really think we're Southern accents. They talk very different, and they've got words. I listen to them, and the one that gets me a lot of times, they'll talk about carrying you somewhere. Like, me and you were going to go to town or something like that. I carried him to town, or something like that.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. And I've heard people use that around here, but not as much as
they do.
Right,
routinely down there.
Right. Yeah.
Down here, they say, "Come and go with me." You
Yeah.
know, they're saying goodbye. Mm-hmm. Well, I used to just go get in the car. Hey, whatever you say. I've always talked. Do what you're told.
Is that how you just wound up running around with Charlie and Jim and them? You just got in the car.
Come with me.
There's a few times there's a few times you might have picked a different car. You reckon?
Well, we picked four-wheelers one night. Talking about this four-wheeler, right? He was on one, I was on one. We went across the road behind the foam plant there. I went up this big hill. Of course, it come back on me, and bang, Wow, that lid on the gas tank hit me right in the nose.
Oh, they're perfect for that.
I just knew I had a bloody nose, got my hanky, and went to blow my nose, and 2 fingers go up in that one nose. And I said, Charlie, we're going to have to go get this fixed. So
Wow.
he took me to Litchfield, emergency room. Doctor sewed it up, It took quite a bit, but and he said something about pain medicine, and I said, "Oh, I think Charlie said, no, we don't need no pain medicine."
He thought he was going to pay for it, didn't he?
He might have smelled a little, I don't know, but the doctor was from Japan or China or somewhere. He said, "Oh, no whiskey, no whiskey." So we listened for a little while.
Took some advice, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, me.
We got her fixed.
You were down here around the store somewhere, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. You know, if it wouldn't have been for John A. and Martha, well, they made it real easy to settle in and get to know people.
Yeah.
John A. took me around all the people raising hogs, and of course we were buying feeder pigs, and then I started buying pigs off of about everybody around, quite a few of them. And then Martha took Sherry to the homemakers meetings, you know.
Well, I forgot
so
about
we
the
really
homemakers
got to
these.
know, and that really did help. I think of that a lot. It
Right.
helped a whole lot. You know,
John A. thought a lot of you. I know that. I mean, he would
Well,
talk about
you know, we'd have trouble with a pump or something. He was always fixing the pumps or doing a little electric work. You come down and ask him, "Well, John A., I need this, I need that, and you know, have you got time?" And he says, "Well, I don't have time to fix it right, but I always got time to come back and fix it again."
That's a pretty good saying.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah, job
Yeah,
security
that's what
there.
he said. Yeah.
Job security.
Oh, John A. was intelligent, wasn't he, Tom?
Oh, yeah, he could fix it.
I'm gonna brag on Tom. Tom's an intelligent guy.
Well-
A lot of people does things. I know myself. You know, a lot of the farming techniques I have. Why do you do that? Well, that's just what Dad did, or that's what Papa did, or that's just what we've always done. You get to talking to Tom very much, which I have over the years, picked his brain a whole lot, and he can tell you the why behind farming practices.
You think?
Well, I don't know. You told me something. I don't know if it's true or
very,
not. But
very. I'd use the word innovative.
innovative, cutting edge.
Very
Yeah,
innovative.
yeah. You was talking about the foam factory. I remember you developed a sprinkler system there at the foam factory. Is that right? Did I hear that
I
right?
didn't develop it.
Well, you implemented it
Well, we had one put in.
from a pond.
Oh, yeah, well, I come up with that idea.
Yeah.
You know, they said, you got to have so many gallons. I said, well, we'll build a pond. And
It was up behind the plant, right?
yeah, and then
I
we
remember
built
that.
the
Had a pump house. Yep.
right on the pond bank to where that would put, the
So-
pump would stick in there. But it took, like, you had to have so many gallons for so long. And we did our calculation. Connor built the pond in a day, and we had the water coming. So.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say a lot of people's sprinkler system is pond fed. Is my point to
Right.
that.
Right.
Just
You know,
kind of
I
always. I know thinking outside the box. That term gets used a lot and probably misused a lot. But Tom thinks outside the box.
Well, try to make it easier or safer or something.
I'll tell you one thing that I remember. We were up at your dad's shop one day as a young man, late teens, early 20s or something like that, and we were talking about some things in our county. I don't know if Tom remembers this or not, but we were talking about job creation. Tom he's a wonderful political, economic analyst of things. If you
Agreed.
ever want to talk to him about them.
Yeah.
Best advice I ever heard in my life come out of his mouth.
Well, let me tell you this. This is great
Okay,
advice
go
here
ahead,
if
yeah.
you haven't heard this. And here's how I posed the question to him, Tom. I said, Tom, would you rather have a factory that employs 200 people that's a long shot at getting, or 10 small businesses that employ 20 people? He said, yeah, both.
Is that right?
I never had thought of it like that. He said, don't be an or guy. He said, be an and guy.
Yeah.
And I said that?
You said that.
My goodness.
I haven't forgot it.
Well, I remember one time what you said.
Well, you told me to be an and guy, and so I've never forgot that. A lot of times, if you're not careful, people will pose things to you as a choice that's unfair. You shouldn't have to pick. So
Right.
do you want this, or do you want this? Do you want a public job, or do you want a farm? Just be an and guy. Just do both.
Yeah.
Do you want to have work and be successful, or have family time? Well, you don't have to choose to be an and guy. And so I've never forgot that, Tom. I want to give you credit for that. That's great.
I'm glad I said something. You remember.
Well, I'll tell you another one.
Well, wait. I remember telling lots of people, talking about selling something. I said, well, give them a choice. Always give them a choice. So that's just opposite of what you're saying. You know, if you give them a choice, they'll probably buy one.
Yeah.
You know, they might not buy both.
Yeah, but when I was selling tires, I'd try to get them to buy both. I was an and guy, Tom.
Well, you and I guess you was.
Buy the mutters and put the all seasons up on the shelf.
You had both. You had both.
But you know what I remember? You and I were talking politics a little. You was telling me about, well, they've got it fixed. They're getting it fixed just the way they want it.
Right.
You know. And I said, Kyle, who's they?
Yes. Oh, I use this now.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah, I stole it from you.
Oh, well, good. No,
Yes.
you're using it.
Yeah,
You didn't
I do.
steal nothing. Yeah, use it. Make them think.
They who?
They who?
I said, well, I don't know. That's what I heard. That's what they're telling me.
So we were down there working on the parish hall at the church. And you were kind of the backbone of that and keeping it going and stuff. We was down there one day, and I don't even remember what we were talking about. But you told me you don't ever borrow money that doesn't make you money.
I said that.
You said that.
My goodness.
And I said something to your kids one time about you saying that to me, and I thought that's great advice, And they said, "Oh, we've heard that for years from him." So
They ought to
apparently
know better than
yeah. But I mean, you don't go borrow money for junk, for
Yeah.
toys and stuff. Save up and buy it if you want it. But that's great advice. And if people, I mean, nobody lives by that today. And if they would, the world would be in a better place. I think they'll buy crap and junk.
I'll have to watch what I say. I didn't know you all listened.
Hey, we're listening. We didn't listen to it all.
Not just
but
listening,
we listened to some of
put
it.
it in practice.
I couldn't
Maybe
get-
a few years late, but
I couldn't get Brandon to listen one night.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, go ahead and tell it. He's got editing power.
We were over here in the shop, and I had him. He was working on one of my trucks, and I guess I rode a four-wheeler up to see how it was going. And I said, I don't know how to adjust these brakes on these four-wheelers. He said, oh, yeah, no problem. I said, pull her up on its side. And he started adjusting, and
Honda four-wheeler.
yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, he's doing just fine. We got him working. We had one left to go. It wouldn't have took a minute to finish. I was holding it up on its side, but I could do it. It was a hard job, but I could
Yeah,
do
he's
it.
suffering through
doing
it.
my part.
I know where this is
His
going.
mama comes in and said, boys, here's some sandwiches. I threw his tools down. He said, come on here, finish this, He said, no, we better eat those sandwiches before they spoil.
They might spoil.
Well, he had got some advice from somebody else. Never miss quitting time or eating time.
That's right. That's right.
Who said that?
Me.
Oh,
It's 2 times a day I don't miss. Uncle Gene used to say, I start thinking about dinner before I get breakfast to eat.
I thought that was only myself.
Do you remember when we had to go I think we was going to get truck parts, and we blowed the heater hose on the old Chevrolet you had, and we had to pull in up there to Napa at Litchfield and fix the heater hose?
There's so
I
many things
remember
went
that
wrong
one.
with vehicles. I don't record that kind of stuff.
I remember that
Man,
one.
no. I guess you fixed it, didn't you?
We got it. Me and you fixed it. I didn't just fix it. Me and you fixed it.
Well,
but
that's good. I remember I hooked the hoses up wrong to the trailer the livestock trailer, semi, air hoses. And I got almost toward E-Town, and boy, it just dragging, I couldn't go. And I figured out all them trailer brakes are locking up. Well, I had, by then we had cell phones, and I called Jimmy, and I explained it to him. He said, well, switch them airlines. And it's something about his eyes. Every time I'd touch the brakes, I'd lose a little air in the tanks in the trailer, slowly setting the brakes, So I guess I'm not a truck driver. So
He'd fit in down there at work, wouldn't he, bud?
yeah, you fit in good. I think
Did you have somebody that?
No, they got the red and blue ones where you can't get them swapped now. The
Oh,
new
okay.
glad hands, you can't swap them.
Well, that's good.
But the old style, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were hooking them up backwards?
He had hooked them up backwards. Yeah, it was on an old trailer that didn't have maxis on it.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you just had somebody that didn't know the difference or something.
Yeah,
You was telling me
yeah,
a story about somebody
yeah.
that just maybe didn't even know the difference.
Yeah, we've got several of them. We won't go into any details.
You want to name names?
No, probably better
I
not.
was coming up the road. It ain't been a month ago, I don't guess, Tom, when you stopped there up here on 187. You was kind of pulled over to the edge of the road. Yeah. And I pulled up behind him, and he was standing there looking. He's hauling hay on a gooseneck trailer. I said, Tom, you having trouble? He said, no, lost one somewhere. And sure enough, one of them top bales I looked, there was an empty space for it. I guess you found it.
Oh yeah, we found it. Help fix the fence too.
What is it about those bales? When they fall off, they will go. I mean, I lost one coming off that hill there below John Lindsay's house. And I drove and couldn't. I'd been over to my father-in-law's, drove back and forth, and never could find it. And finally walked, and that thing was probably 30, 40 foot off the edge of that road down in one of those old bottoms you all had.
I dumped one down there at Dale's this year, back in the spring, and I get around there, and the next time we stopped or whatever, and Dale's standing there, I said, hey, back there in that one corner, is there a fence off in the woods down there? No, I said, good. He said, why? I said, last time I seen a bale of hay, running about 70 down through there.
Dale probably went and got that bale of hay.
Oh no, he didn't go get this, and I can assure you,
It's in the bottom of the.
it's off in that holler there by the hog barn somewhere. I don't know where.
Yeah, that's steep down through there. Best
I think everybody's had one get away in time.
I've had a few get away down there.
Through a fence or two.
Tom, we was talking about advice. I want you to tell. I believe you told me it was your dad one time when you was growing up, and we were talking about now how it's real convenient. People, if they need a chisel, we'll just jump in a vehicle and run to Bowling Green, pick up a chisel or whatever it was. And your family didn't practice that when you were young, growing up.
We lived 7 miles from town, but we had to have 3 reasons to go. If you needed nails, well, find 2 more deals, and we'll go.
Or you just didn't go?
But no, you didn't go. No. But I have seen Dad already dream up a lame excuse. The third one was kind of lame.
I may start using that one if my family wants to go to town.
Well,
3 reasons.
Now you just go get it.
Yeah.
Just run and go. And
What did your parents do for a living?
my dad farmed all his life.
Okay.
Yep. Mom took care of she had a lot of laying hens, so she took care of the chickens and the house. And
You've got
Those
several
kids-
siblings, don't you?
oh yeah, there's 8 of us, and we had of course Dad always had lots of livestock, chickens, hogs, cattle, and sheep, and we had to get up before we'd go to school, and everybody had a little job. You might feed 10 hogs or throw down the silage, or girls would go pick up the eggs or feed the chickens, or it took everybody about 10 or 20 minutes, and then Dad would finish everything later, and then we'd come in, Mom would have breakfast ready, and we'd get cleaned up. And then, of course, when we came home, we'd go feed again. Of course, there's more at the eat.
Did you all crop farm too?
Oh yeah,
In that area?
yeah. He raised 20 acres of tomatoes
Wow.
every year. They'd go to the cannery and mostly make where they put 2 tomatoes in a can and
Yeah, they
then
take the skin off of it.
took the skin off, yeah. And then they made a lot of juice too.
Right.
But
Did you all
28
pick those by hand, or did you all have a machine that did that?
We had Mexicans do it,
Okay.
but we usually would plant them, the 20 acres in the spring.
Did you plant them like with a tobacco planter
Same as
or
except
setter?
we didn't have the wheel. We had the kind that had the plow where you had to
Oh,
put the plant and you put your hand in the groove.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you'd hear that click, you put
You
plant
were the
right
wheel.
by the water.
Your arm was the
Well,
wheel.
Our arm was the wheel. All right. But you sit right 3 inches above the dirt clods, and if it's very cloddy, the seed would rumble. But we planted a lot of tomatoes, and then we'd hoe them, keep the weeds out of them all summer long. There'd be 6 or 8 of us going across the field. We could always tell if it was in a certain field. We always knew when it was dinner time. We'd look over at the barn, on the neighbor's barn, and at 11:30, the sun would be down to the track, door tracks.
that was your
We'd
clock.
go to the house. Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
Do y'all know Glendale Meredith?
Yes.
Lives up on Cedar Grove Church Road.
Yes.
You know Glendale?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Glendale?
No.
You said that 20 acres of tomatoes. This made me think.
Yeah.
Glendale's, he's a construction worker, works for Icon, I believe.
Was
or
his dad Glenn?
Glen,
Glenn and Mary?
I'm pretty sure that's right.
They worked at the slaughterhouse with Winston and them.
He's a brother to Greg and
Yeah.
Granville. And,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that Glenn and Mary was his parents.
There
They
was
were
a-
good people.
Oh yeah, there was a fella that moved in up there beside Glendale, and I don't remember exactly where he was from, but not from around here. Kind of lived in the city all of his life, and him and Glendale made fast buddies. And he said, "I've always wanted to raise a garden," and he asked Glendale if he would help him get his garden, get it ready, get it broke. And Glendale said, yeah, I'll help you. So he was up there raking hay one day, and that guy flagged him down and said, are you ready to break my garden? Glendale said, yeah, we'll do it today. And he said, well, just come on and do it. He said, it's a hay rake. You don't even know what you need to break a garden with. He said, I'll go get my plows and I'll be back. So he goes and gets his plows and breaks his garden, discs it up for him. And the old boy, he's got tomatoes. He wants to raise tomatoes. And so he just goes out there and he sets them everywhere. Sets them.
Not in a row.
Not in a row. Just sets them, just one here, then 2 foot over there, and 2 foot over there. Glendale said, well, now listen, you need to set. And he's trying to coach him along and this and that. And he says, have you got any stakes? And he said, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, well, as them tomatoes get bigger, you won't want them just to lay on the ground. He said, we'll get you some stakes, and you can tie them up or put them in baskets or put your stakes in baskets, whatever. He said, well, I don't have anything like that. He said, do you have something else? Yeah, get in the truck. I'll take you down here. So he takes him down there to the barn where his tobacco sticks are.
Right.
And he opens up the doors of the side shed or whatever it is. And, of course, there's just thousands of tobacco sticks in there. Yep. And he said that old boy's eyes got big as $50. He said, how many tomatoes do you raise?
20 acres.
He said, I've never seen so many tomato stakes in all my life. And I don't know if Glendale ever told him any different or not. So when you said raise 20 acres of them tomatoes, you might be rivaled by Glendale Meredith. I don't know which one of you raises the most.
We didn't stake them. We just set them anywhere.
You was like that old boy.
Yeah, he was
We
translated.
did put them in a row. Yeah.
You were talking about the shadow on the barn. Well, I worked with a guy named Randy Meredith, and it's Randy Meredith Jr., and he took an old pocket watch and glued it up into the top of his hard hat. And somebody'd ask him what time it was, and he'd hold that hard hat up to the sun, hold it up high like that. And of course, he's looking at it, and he'd tell him. Well, when I went up to Owensboro and worked up there for a little while, I was up there one day. I used to wear a watch all the time, and I broke my watch band just right off the bat, hung it on something broken. I thought, well, I'm going to do that. So I did that. And of course, those boys up there in Owensboro, which I work with one of them now, he sits right beside me. But we had this one that worked up there. We called him Tater. And Tater, he was, he was peculiar about stuff. He asked me what time it was one day, and I threw that hard hat up. And I said, I think it's 15 minutes after 11. Boy, he just cut them eyes over at me and looked at me. A few days later, he said, what time is it? I said, it's like, it's one, held that hard hat up over the sun. I looked at it, and I said, it's 1:27. So this goes on for 3 or 4 days. Well, they're talking, these guys on the crew with me are talking amongst themselves about me being able to do that. And finally, he did that one day. He said, I just got to know, how in the world do you do that? How do you do that? So I went to trying to explain to you, I made something up, but I hadn't been believing that for a long time.
The arc of the sun in relationship to the horizon.
Yeah, I said, you hold that hard hat up, you got to look how the shadow, I don't know what I said, but it was some kind of.
It's like a sundial.
Yeah, and they ate it up, the guys I was with. I was telling the safety guy about that one time. He said, yeah. He said, it'd been funny till something fell on that head and put the imprint of that watch on top of your head. I said, well, I didn't think that far ahead.
What happened? What time did that accident happen?
Yeah.
2:24.
Yeah, look right here. It's got the second hand right where it needs. It's backwards. Look at it with a mirror. Talking about power line work, I was watching TV today. There are 4.5 million people without 4.5 million electric meters off right now from this hurricane. And to put that in perspective, there's 2.5 million, little less than 2.5 million in the state of Kentucky, all of them. Total. Yeah, this is a big storm.
Yeah. And of course, we're going to see nothing like that up this way in eastern Kentucky and stuff. But, I sent you that today. I-40 washed out over there. I don't know if y'all had seen that.
Yeah, I saw a picture.
Yeah.
I was telling Tom, I saw a town in North Carolina, I think, got 30 inches of rain.
Wow.
Well, they were saying 15 to 30 inches some places. And, you get over in that country, how much did they get during the eastern Kentucky flooding?
It wasn't that, was it?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Like 10, it's double digit. 10 inches is what I was thinking.
That moves on around, and we get some of it over our way, and it could be a repeat.
Of course, they might have some of the same trouble there in eastern Kentucky. There's so much runoff is what gets them.
That's it.
Where those mountain faces are.
Well,
if we get 3 inches here, we get 3 inches here. If you get 3 inches there, you get 3 inches there from no telling how many acres that's going to run right down into that creek.
Well, it's the same thing in them places they're talking about 15 to 30. North Carolina.
Oh, that's all mountain over there.
All of it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So there
that
are a
could
lot
be
of people in bad shape over there.
That could be some trouble.
You know, you get 4.5 million people out of power, and that's from Florida up through, you know, Georgia and some of Alabama and the Carolinas, and even over Eastern Kentucky's got a lot of outages right now. I mean, there's a lot of people going to be without power for a month.
Is it where it's just so slow moving? Is that what's dropping a
Yeah,
lot
I mean,
of the rain?
well, y'all can tell the wind's picking up here,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so these trees have leaves on them, and then you get all this rain, and I mean, they just it's a big kite. It catches the wind, blows over, and it's multiple things. Some flooding will take it out, take lines and stuff out, but it's really probably the trees and wind that are getting them. But hopefully there won't be any lightning. Lightning's hard on power line, but and then you know the state department with the roads and stuff. And there's going to be a massive cleanup from this. And I saw there's 2 more coming behind this thing down in the Gulf.
Clean up and reconstruction. I mean,
Yeah,
you
what's
get
it going
into
to take
that.
to fix I-40?
Right.
That's going to be a mess.
Big time.
Yeah, can you imagine the snarl of traffic to have I-40 shut down right through there?
Right. Which I'm sure they'll step those walls over and step it over, you know, cut it down to one lane through there, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
That's a bottleneck and a half right there.
Yeah. It'll be a mess.
Tom, what's your good sunfish stories?
Oh, sunfish stories. Well, they
I'm
started.
sure there's been a few over the
They
years.
started a long time ago.
What did you think when you first come down here? I mean, were you like, well, I'm in the middle of nowhere? Is this backwards? I mean,
I don't know. You're just going to make the best of it.
you're the type person that makes a friend anywhere you go,
Well,
right?
we were sitting over there across the lake, you know, and one Sunday afternoon. They came up and asked if they could go fishing. I said, yeah, go ahead. Well, they fished all afternoon, and about 4 or 5 o'clock, I told Sherry, said, you know, if we're going to get to know anybody, we need to go down and talk to them. So we went down and talked to them, and it was Wendy Vincent.
Yeah.
And it turned out we chummed around off and on ever since, I guess. Or not a lot lately, but we see each other twice a year now. But you got to know Coy and Lanny and all the whole
Big family.
You know, it helped a lot.
Sure.
You got to stick your hand out.
Yeah,
You
agreed.
Was people pretty receptive to you around here when you come in? For the most part?
Yeah. Of course, it helped. You know, we needed people. I had to hire people for this and that, and you get to know this person and that, and then you find out who's brother-in-law, and you start adding it all together. And it takes 40 years.
I mean, y'all had several employees just right there at home, right there to where you lived.
I've heard it said I've hired everybody in Edmonson County sometime or another.
Probably not far off the truth.
Well, I don't know. We used some of them, you know.
My earliest memory is I think Mom was babysitting Tony, or Tony come to the house for something. We were little, and we had our mutual cousin was with us as well. But she took us out to the school, to the Sunfish School, and the gym floor was in there, and it was cold. And she took us out there with her bicycles, and we rode bicycles on the gym floor all day.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that's my earliest memory. And then I remember, did you used to come down to Christmas at John A.'s some?
A little bit.
Yeah, I think I remember you
That's
down
when
there.
I met Charlie, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, of course, we had that Huff building, and I remember taking some farm equipment down there and putting it away, and then I met Randy, of course, he's
Right,
right
right
next
next
door.
door.
And so, you know, you get to know Charlie and Randy, and then sometimes you go riding around with each other. And I remember, you know, when you was a kid, you'd ride bikes down there. Up in Ohio, we'd get a rock, and, you know, 3 or 4 of them, you'd practice, ride down the road, and a road sign be coming up, and you just sling it out there. You know, you wouldn't throw it at it, but you just sling it off to the side, and bang, you know, you'd hit that road sign. So
As
you know, you
parent,
got kind of good at that.
as
Well,
parent of the year, I haven't taught my kids, you don't throw it, you're right. If you throw it, you'll miss it.
Yeah.
But if you'll just kind of flip it like that,
Yeah.
it's hard not to hit it.
Well, one night I think Charlie was driving. I was in the middle. I think it was Randy's little S, or that
Ranger,
Ranger.
yeah,
That little Ranger. The 3 of us crammed in there somehow, and we was
That's a
coming up
full
185.
cab, isn't it, right there? With, I mean,
It was full.
those big boys.
Yeah, it was full. And we was coming up 185, and I had something in my hand. I don't know what it was for sure, and I didn't want to litter. So Randy's yard was right there. So said, Randy, roll your window down. Well, he didn't know what I was going to do. Well, it was a bottle, I guess. Probably. Well, I just slung it out, you know.
Returnable.
and whap, you know, hit his mailbox right there. And he said, he started talking, wait, that was my mailbox. Well, I didn't mean that. So it goes about 2 months, you know, and Sherry was sitting up at the house, and she said, somebody's down there on the road. You know, it's dark. You could see people running around in front of the headlights and back and forth and around. And she said, they're coming on up here. I said, well, good. They'll come and see us. And next thing you know, they turn around down by the shop, and you could see them walking around by the headlights down there, and out the drive they go. You know, I got in my old car, and I come down that hill without any headlights, and I turn the curve, and thought I was going to get up behind them, and they just disappeared. Well, I didn't know who it was, you know, till I come back home. And I pulled up in the barn lot, headed up toward the house, and there by that gate was my mailbox.
They had relocated it.
And it had a yard and a half of concrete on the bottom of it, and they got it all out of the dirt.
Hey, that's dedicated right there.
It was so I kind of figured out who that was. So, you know, what goes around comes around. But then later, of course, Charlie's smart enough not to have a mailbox. He got his at the store, you know. But and Jim, for a long time, Jim helped Charlie and Randy get that yard and a half concrete out of the ground. So, about 4 or 5 months later, Jim got tired of picking the mail up at the store. He puts a mailbox down to his house. Charlie comes over one Sunday afternoon and says, Hey, Jim's got a mailbox. I said, just wait a minute, hold on.
Let me get my boots on.
Charlie said, well, let's go. I said, well, pull down the shop. And I went in the shop and I got my chainsaw.
We ain't digging no concrete.
No. That concrete's hurt my back. So went over there, and I thought, well, we'll just cut that thing off. And no, that's not the way we did it. We just went down there and pulled it out, and it was fresh in the dirt, and he didn't use no concrete. So we went back to the shop and took a chainsaw and cut it off, and I thought we'll just make it, when we stick it back in that hole, it would be about knee high. You know. So we took it back over there, and it was raining that day, and some rock had crumbled in, and I went to stick it back in that hole, and it went in about 4 inches. Just back at the very height it was. Of course, we didn't want to get caught, so we just take off. And it's standing there just looking good, you know. Well, it kept raining. Then Monday's the next day. He come home from work Monday evening. He noticed the mailbox was leaning a little. So he goes up to the shop, gets a spud bar, going to tighten it up.
Tamp it a little.
So, yeah, of course, he soused her in the ground right beside that pole, and that mailbox just goes whop. So that was some mailbox capers, I guess. So.
I'm glad to see. You know, we've had to keep this tradition going, right? I mean, it's just part of it. You know, you have to prank your buddies.
Oh yeah, that's just part of it.
Yeah.
I heard you boys talking the other day about. You was talking about somebody farting or something, wasn't you? Remember?
I'm sure.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Randy and Jim, Charlie and I, we was all going to, I think we was going to Owensboro. The women was all in one car. They had the girls, and we had Tony. He was about 5 or 6.
Was Tony driving?
Yeah, he's in the back seat telling us how. And Jason was with us. He was about 1.5 years. He's still in diapers, you know. Well, we was going up over here, but up the hill halfway to Caneyville, and somebody said, who did that? You know, shoo-wee. You know, I mean, it was bad. It was bad. It was kind of, you don't want to open your mouth, you know, it'd stain your teeth.
Get that in your throat.
Oh, boy. So Randy was driving, and he said, I guess it's Jason, you know, because we all denied it. No, it wasn't me.
Blamed it on the innocent one. Huh?
The one that couldn't talk.
Yeah.
So Randy pulls over and gets Jason, lays him on the hood of the car, and got the diaper bag and opens it up, and opens Jason's diaper up, and clean as a pin. Well, I don't know. So he gets back in the car, and we all start looking at each other. And, well, it wasn't me. Tony's sitting in the back seat in between two of us. And he's shrinking deeper. We said, Tony? He said, it was just a little one.
Come on, guys.
Come on now.
It made Tom proud, though.
Yeah, that's my boy.
That's my boy right there.
There's a guy telling me the other day that when his two boys were young, you know, maybe 3 and 5 or something like that, there's a couple years between them, they were at church one day and had just the wooden benches, no padding or anything like that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the boys were sitting up, it was like him and his wife, and then the two boys were sitting on the other side of his wife. And one of them was acting a little fussy or something like that. And so he reaches over to pick the boy up, and when he picks him up, he lets one go right there in church on that wooden bench, just rattles it.
Rattle, yeah.
And I said, "Oh my gosh, what'd you do?" He said, "I just set him on my lap and looked at him as disappointed as I could." Just where everybody would think maybe it was him. He said, "I just looked at him, just shook my head." I said, "Well, that's pretty quick thinking, actually."
I guess.
When I guess I can't remember if it was Jack or Mason. One of the kids, they were small. We were sitting over at Beach Spring Restaurant. Your uncle owned it at the time, I think.
Damon
And his wife.
Uh-huh.
And when we were in that first room, we were all the way in the back table, that kind of bench and a couple seats. And I think it was Jack. And Jack said, "I don't feel good. I think I'm going to get sick." And his mother picked him up and turned. And, I mean, that restaurant was full. And so she turned to run out with him. And all I could see was the back of her head. And I could see he threw up and hit her in the chest. And I could see it going out both sides. And people were sitting there eating, and it was hitting the table as she was running through them.
Oh, my Lord.
And I said, "Oh." And so she got him out of there, you know. But, I mean, Damon, I told him, I said, "Just go ahead and give me everybody's in here. I'll buy their meal." I forget what it cost to eat there at night, but I bought everybody's meal. I said, "You ain't got it." I said, No. But it was bad. Them little fellers, heck, they can't help it.
No. It
Tony.
wasn't the cooking, was it?
No.
He just got sick.
Yeah.
Anybody ever throw up on a bus when you was young?
Did I?
No, just anybody on the
Yeah. That smell, that stuff they put in there.
What is that bus? I know you drove a bus for a while.
I don't know. It's some kind of wood shape. It reminds me of where they sharpen pencils.
It's got to have some kind of chemical in it or something like that. It's horrible.
Which I drove a bus for over 2 years because I was nearly 2 years of full time. But for just a little over 2 years, I drove a bus, and I had one kid get sick on the bus out of that whole time. So I was very fortunate.
Yeah.
But that kid had Fruity Pebbles for breakfast.
Oh.
You know, Brandon.
And I dumped them wood shavings in it, and then when I got here to the farm, I backed that bus downhill, and I got the water hose, and I hosed her out the back.
You talking about sharpening pencils. You heard about Johnny, didn't you? Teachers told him, get the pencils, you know. And he said, "Well, I ain't got no pencil." She said, "No," she was an English teacher, you know. She said, "No, it's we have no pencil, I have no pencil, you have no pencil." Johnny said, "Well, who in the hell's got all the pencils?"
No wonder he didn't have one.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
See y'all.